all facets of blended instruction, defined as an educational program where part of the learning is face-to-face and part of the learning is completed using online and digital media such as videos, virtual collaborative spaces, and simulations. Beyond the positive effects of setting up a blended learning environment, I believe that the digital and online media, namely videos, will one day be one of the most primary ways that new information is spread to learners. While books are great for learning, videos provide a more social atmosphere because they utilize verbal and visual communication. This has been shown to increase learning and understanding of difficult topics. Videos also allow teachers to be in more than one place at one time, both in and out of the classroom. It might seem obvious, but what is the best way to teach and learn with educational videos? After looking at research on education and neuroscience, I created a system that I teach my students to use to best utilize videos. I use this method for math, science, and computer programming classes. However, it should work well in any subject. The system involves students watching videos to gain a simple knowledge base, taking notes on the videos, and developing questions based on the content. This video will detail what both students and teachers need to consider when using video lessons. It's important to know that most of the real learning does not come from the video. The videos just provide a fuse for the learning. The real learning takes place in the classroom, in which concept creating, application, extension, synthesis, and analysis take place. Videos do not provide a viable social and collaborative piece necessary for students to do actions such as these. On day one, I like to discuss with students how they think would be the best ways to effectively use videos to aid their learning. Giving the students a voice and trying to see how they view videos and how they would use them in the classroom helps them actually own the learning a little bit more, rather than you sitting there and telling them exactly how they should use the videos. After some brainstorming, they usually come up with what you have intended for them anyway. I show them the acronym WNQ. The W stands for watch, the N stands for notes, and the Q stands for questions. Rather than saying WNQ, I pronounce it as wink. So I use wink as a verb when sending out videos to the students that I want them to watch. Something to the effect of, wink the following video on rational roots theorem. So let's break down each step of this wink process. All right, so the first step is to watch the video. This seems straightforward, but is sometimes the most overlooked part by students. Furthermore, another critical point included in this step is the rewatching of videos, old and new, to understand how the content is all related. These connections and relationships are things that each student should be making to gain a broad understanding of the material rather than scattershot skills. Actively looking for connections is among one of the best habits of mind that students can use to focus on expanding their learning. Chances are many of them will not be able to make these connections without some guidance and coaching. This is where the importance of having students create well thought out questions to get help making those connections really comes into play. Also important in this W step is letting students know that the videos are meant to be paused, rewatched, and analyzed. This is the power of video compared to the traditional lecture format. Essentially, the students set their pace of learning, which according to research is ideal. I like to explain to my students that it is normal and also expected that they are not necessarily going to understand every aspect of the video upon the first watching of it. One of the problems with education in the US is that teachers break down the concepts and the thinking for the students too much. This is in stark contrast to having students learn through constructivist approaches. Many teachers do this to no fault of their own. They think they are doing the students a favor by making the concepts as easy to understand as possible. The problem with this is that they are taking away any of the thinking that the students would do on their own to build their own knowledge base of the concepts. Research shows that when students struggle with concepts and build their own understanding, the learning is improved and they have a deeper grasp of the concepts. So while teachers might think that making the material easy to understand equates to better teaching, it's actually the opposite. Having students embrace the struggle is paramount in this step. As teachers, you need to make sure that students are watching the videos. How can this be accomplished? Well, we need to make sure that we create or find quality videos that students want to watch because it will help them. It is important that you set up your class so students do actually need to watch the assigned videos. If students do not watch them, then you lose the effectiveness of the blended learning. It's kind of like buying textbooks in college. Many people I know, and myself included, used to hold off on buying college textbooks for classes due to the fact that many times they were simply not needed. I could still go through the entire class learning all the concepts without the book. Students will do the same thing with videos. If they're not required or helpful to them, then they're just simply not going to watch them. This means that you're going to have to lecture more in class and you're going to be stuck with the same less effective model of teaching that you had before. All right, so for the note-taking step, students should be given a choice on how they want to take notes. Guided notes have been shown to be rather ineffective with helping students understand concepts. Rather than aimlessly copying notes, students need to think about what is important and what needs to be written down, what can be excluded, what they already know, and what needs to be focused on more. Stars, arrows, graphics, and drawings are all great things that students can add to make note-taking more effective. This is a skill that's going to follow them the rest of their lives in any job setting. This sort of note-taking is called flow-based note-taking. It's important to note that I don't actually grade the notes, but they are checked and used as conversation starters if I meet with a student due to lack of progress with the material. Conversations such as these are possible due to the open time in which students are not going to be lectured at during class. On a related note, research shows that taking notes by hand is actually more effective than taking notes on a computer or simply taking pictures of notes, as so many students often do. This is an important concept to make sure that students understand and utilize in your class. So for the question formulation, as a general rule in my class, students are only allowed to ask questions that can be answered by me with either a yes or a no. The reasoning behind asking questions such as this is that it forces students to actually watch the video or at least gain that minimum understanding of what they need. Oftentimes I find when students are asking questions like, how do you do this? Or saying just simply, I don't know how to do this, they just simply did not actually watch the video. If they watch the video and it's well made and well thought out, they should have some kind of understanding or some kind of way of starting the problem at least. Next, it discourages questions like, how do you do this? Which happens often in a math class. The point is for them to figure out how to do these things. It also helps students to think about what they already know about the material. So if they're looking at a problem they've never seen before, they have to think back to what they already know and see if they can apply that to this new problem. Also, by asking these questions to me, it encourages students to answer questions themselves, thereby increasing their own understanding of the material. Lastly, it shifts the focus from the answerer to the questioner. Yes or no is easy to understand rather than a lengthy explanation by me that oftentimes mirrors the video. Now, what I mean by these questions that can only be answered with a yes or no, this would be questions like, is this what I'm supposed to do on the next step? Does it make sense if I did something like this? Am I allowed to do something like this to answer this problem? It is important to note that I do not leave students out in the cold with a simple yes or no. Further responses are differentiated based on the knowledge of the student's skills, curiosity, math ability, etc. I do give further explanations after the initial yes or no. So an example of this would be like if a student said, is this what I'm supposed to do on the next step? I would say something like, no, have you tried doing something like this? So I try to pose it as another question for the student to answer just to kind of lead them in the right direction. And you can ask a question right back to the students after you answer the yes or no, or you can just tell the students after you tell them the yes or no. But the point is, you want them to actually formulate that good question. Some other helpful teacher tips are that many teachers think that they are supposed to quiz or question students on the material from the videos, and that will force them to watch the video and learn. The problem with this is that research states that points and grades are some of the worst motivators for learning for students. When grades and points are the focus of the lesson, less learning takes place because students end up chasing the grade rather than the understanding. Next, you want to give students a chance to watch the video in class. While it is preferable for students to watch outside of class, it is simply not an option for many students. Sometimes students need help managing their time, even seniors in high school. With a blended classroom, there is time to work with students individually on things such as this because there is no lecture component. Next, you want to keep things short and to the point in the videos. The point of the video is not to replace a lecture entirely. So again, I try to focus videos on basic knowledge and concepts rather than the solving of a specific problem. The problem solving is generally completed the next day in class. This is a collaborative endeavor in which students can work in pairs or their groups. I try to focus my videos on providing clues to solve challenges that I give them in class the next day. So again, it's really important that you do not give students monkey see, monkey do videos in which you are simply showing them how to solve a problem and they repeat those exact same steps. This has been shown to be among the least effective ways of teaching based on the previously described constructivist approach. It focuses on the process rather than the actual understanding of the concepts. This also provides an opportunity for students to figure things out on their own rather than just mimicking what I did to solve a similar problem. One of the main ideas behind control theory is that students prefer to construct their own understanding of the learning at their own pace. Although it is easier sometimes to mimic steps to solve a problem, students are more apt to focus on deeper understanding of concepts when they are constructing their own understanding. Also, hints are given by me in class as a way of differentiating instruction for each student. It also helps them understand that they are supported by me. Next, do not give students an easy way out. A common occurrence with blended learning is as follows. A student says that he or she is not understanding the video. You, being a great teacher, ask, which part confuses you? The student then responds, all of it. I have been teaching for over 10 years now, and I have never had a student that was legitimately confused about every single thing that is in a video, especially if the video was well made and well thought out. This learned helplessness is a bad habit on the student's part. So rather than going through the task of watching and analyzing and being patient with the video, they want the concepts to be spoon-fed to them. When this happens, I ask them to show me exactly which part is confusing them. I tell them that I'll give them a few minutes to find exactly where they're confused and that they need to pause it on that, and then I will come back and help them. 9 times out of 10, the student simply did not watch the video or just watched it once. By making them pause exactly where they are confused, students are forced to realize that they really do understand more than they think. Confidence is huge when it comes to learning. It also saves you from having your time monopolized by a student that is simply not learning the way the course is intended for them. You will also probably have to reiterate to the students to ask yes or no questions, again, rather than saying, how do you do this? The main guiding principle I have in my class is real thinking comes from a question, not an answer. Students need to come up with those high caliber questions rather than being spoon-fed an answer to complete problems. Answers are an endpoint of thinking until that answer causes another question. Lastly, make sure parents know how you teach. Some students think the learning only takes place from the videos. Then they tell this to their parents, who may get upset with you for not actually teaching their students. I sent an email to parents with a video at the end of the first day that provides an easy to understand explanation of my teaching. This has been used to dispel the myth that I simply tell students to watch a video without actually helping them along the way. The emphasis is on the one-on-one or small group help as needed, the collaborative, social, and safe environment that the videos provide due to me not having to lecture in class. This student-centered rather than teacher-centered approach is the most effective way to help the students. Once the parents realize that, they're going to love the class a lot more. So for the take-home message, blended instruction is not easy. Hopefully that was made clear throughout this video. But if we are to help students reach their full potential and get them ready for the real world, it is absolutely essential. Although blended instruction involves more work on the teacher's part, with more prepping needed to find and or create videos, the positive attributes greatly outweigh the negatives. Blended instruction provides higher level thinking, real world applicability, interdependent collaboration between students and teachers, and the differentiation to each individual student's needs. I hope this video provided you with some guidance to help you use videos more effectively in your classroom. If you have any questions about anything in this video, let me know.